Hey all, it's Marco from Random Door Media. Today I want to talk about a book that has been out for quite some time and was adapted into a film not long ago. First published in 1962, A Wrinkle in Time is a young adult novel by author Madeleine L'Engle. The book won several awards, such as the Newbery and Sequoia Book Awards. The plot was rather different from other young adult novels, as it dealt with traveling through space, traveling to other planets, and involved a great evil entity that threatened multiple worlds. The story was followed up by 4 other novels, and all 5 stories were called the Time Quintet. Although the characters from A Wrinkle in Time carry through to the other books, the stories in each one were rather different. I first read this book when I was in school, and bought it when I was an adult to read again. In 2018, Walt Disney Pictures released a live-action movie based on the book, and I read it again in order to check out the differences. Needless to say, I noticed many differences between the storytelling from the 2 forms of media. Up to a certain point, I thought the movie did a decent job of portraying the story and the characters overall, but there are some noticeable differences. The movie followed the key plot elements, but smaller plot elements in between the major ones were different. I want to go over the differences, as some changes are mostly cosmetic while other changes are perplexing. This is neither a review of the book nor the movie. This is taking a look at how well the movie adapted the book and stayed true to the source material. To get started, let's summarize the story from the book. It was a dark and stormy night. Yes, the book begins with that sentence. The main character is Meg, a young teenager that lives at home with her mother and 3 brothers. Mother is a scientist with degrees in biology and bacteriology. Father is a physicist that has been absent for many months, supposedly on government business. Meg is somewhat antisocial, and her little brother Charles Wallace is an incredibly intelligent for a 6-year-old, which results in both of them facing social issues because of their unusual personalities. Meg and Charles meet up with a schoolmate named Kelvin O'Keefe, who feels a sort of kinship with the Murray family. The main characters encounter 3 otherworldly women that teleport the children to another planet. 3 women reveal that they are intergalactic travelers that have been around for millions of years, and each have a quirky aspect about them. The 3 travelers inform the children that an evil presence is spreading through the cosmos and has already taken a hold of planet Earth. Also, they want to help the children rescue their scientist father. The travelers bring the children to the distant planet of Camazotz and depart, leaving the main characters to explore on their own. The characters encounter a town, then a city, in which all the people appear human, but all perform the same tasks, almost like automatons. It appears that some entity has the citizens under its control. After encountering a few of the local citizens and a man with red eyes that appears to be under the direct control of the evil entity, the characters find and rescue Mr. Murray. However, Charles Wallace comes under the control of the evil entity, and before Meg and Kelvin also succumb to its control, Mr. Murray teleports him to another planet. They then get help recovering the ordeal of teleportation from some helpful aliens. Meg gets teleported back to Camazotz on her own, then saves her brother with the power of love. And returns to Earth to meet up with her family and Kelvin. So, how did the movie do with adhering to the source material? The first 2 acts of the movie are mostly faithful to the story from the book. The movie does expand upon scenes with extra dialogue and adds more backstory, and some scenes happen in a slightly different order, but overall, the key plot points are the same. There is one big scene in the movie, though, that does not exist in the book. On Uriel, Mrs. Watsit suggests that Meg speak with the flowers to show them her locket with the picture of Father's face. This scene was in the movie only because the movie focused more on the quest to locate Alex Murray. Where in the book, the characters were mainly being shown about the evil spreading through the universe. Do these flower creatures even have eyes? How are they looking at the picture? But it is the 3rd act that the movie diverges greatly from the book. In the book, Camazotz was essentially a planet similar to Earth around the 1960s that had succumbed to the control of the evil entity just called the It. The people that the characters meet are real, with real lives, but their actions are all dictated by the It. In the movie, Camazotz is some sort of illusionary world where things keep changing around them. People and places appear illusionary for the sole purpose of getting Charles Wallace under the It's control. Meg Charles and Calvin spent about 20% of the book traveling around Camazotz, going from a town to a city to the Central Intelligence Building before meeting up with their father. The scene that involving the forest tornado is not in the book. This is another scene that was in the movie only. In the book, the three main characters were together when they entered the town, and they stayed together. In the movie, the town disappeared and a beach scene appeared. They talk with the man with red eyes until Charles falls under his control. Then suddenly they find themselves in a white room. The man with red eyes falls apart like a marionette. Meg uses the glasses provided by Miss Hu to look around the room and see diagrams of some sort, and then starts walking up invisible stairs. I did not understand this part. Then Meg suddenly finds herself in a room where Father is being held. After being reunited, Meg, Father, and Calvin get dragged along a dark and spooky hallway while an unseen it attempts to control them mentally. Wanting to get Meg and Calvin out of there, Father tries to teleport the three of them elsewhere. Meg resists the transport and instead appears in a giant cave, which appears to be inside the it, which is unfathomably huge. Using Charles Wallace as its puppet, the it tries to persuade Meg to joining it, but she resists. Eventually, Meg breaks the control that the it had over her brother by repeating that she loves him. Together, they destroy the it with the power of love.
It's the power of love.
Miss Whatsit, Miss Who, and Miss Witch appear to thank Meg for saving the universe. Meg teleports her and her brother back home, and the movie shows all the characters, particularly Mr. and Mrs. Murray, reuniting. Okay, in the book, the three characters explore Camazotz and find that it is a planet similar to Earth, but everyone follows a strict routine and everything is in perfect order. The people dress and move similarly, seemed scared to act differently, and must file paperwork to do a lot of things. The characters make their way to a huge building called the Central Intelligence Building. They encounter a man with red eyes that speaks with them. Meg determines that it is not actually the man speaking, but some other entity was communicating through him. After falling under the control of the invisible power that controls everyone in the world, Charles Wallace leads Meg and Calvin through the building and to the holding cell of Mr. Murray. After freeing Mr. Murray, Charles takes the characters out of the Central Intelligence Building down the street to a dome-like building. Here they find a disembodied brain that was the creature that was controlling all the people on the planet. Before it could control them, Mr. Murray teleports himself, Meg, and Calvin to another planet called Ishtel. Meg is weakened by the teleportation, and they are approached by creatures native to the planet that look very different from humans. The creatures help Meg get better, and she names one of them Aunt Beast. Miss Whatsit, Miss Who, and Miss Witch appear, and there's a long discussion about returning to Camazotz to rescue Charles Wallace. Meg volunteers to return alone with the reason that she has the strongest relationship with her brother, and he seems to have a sort of mental connection with her. So Meg is transported back to Camazotz and makes her way to the domed building to confront her brother and the it. After using the power of love,
Feel the power of love.
Free her brother from the control of the it, they are transported back to Earth and reunited with the rest of the family. Yeah, the movie deviated quite a bit from the book during that third act. It is interesting to note that the movie changed things so that the characters ended up on Camazotz by mistake, and the three intergalactic beings were unable to help the children because their power ran out. Whereas in the book, the three beings essentially brought the kids to Camazotz and left them. Okay, how about the characters? How were they portrayed? Let's take a look. Starting with Meg. Meg was portrayed mostly correct in the movie. She wore glasses, was about the correct age. In the book, Meg was belligerent and rude at school, but no real reason was given. It was just who Meg was. It was one of her faults. The movie offers the explanation that Meg had an attitude due to her father being missing for 4 years, implying that this is what caused Meg's negative behavior. The little brother, Charles Wallace. In the book, he had blonde hair, but in the movie it was dark. In the movie, one of the adults at the school stated that he was adopted, but there's no mention of this in the book. Odd. I don't really have any issues with his movie counterpart. The movie version of Charles Wallace was pretty much the same as the book character. Just a bit of trivia though. The beginning of my copy of A Wrinkle in Time book, it says, for Charles Wadsworth Camp and Wallace Colin Franklin. I wonder if the character name was chosen to honor these two people. If so, that's pretty cool. Next up is Calvin O'Keefe. Physically, the actor was fine. In the book, he was brought along on the adventure because of his ability to communicate. At a point in the story, it is his ability to communicate that almost saves Charles Wallace. But in the movie, Calvin did not really add to the plot and was just along for the ride. I noticed a lot of movie reviewers pointed this out and questioned why this character was even in the movie. Also, in the book, Calvin mentioned having issues with his mother, but loved her anyway. In the movie, Calvin has an abusive father. Okay, next we have Kate Murray. This is Meg and Charles Wallace's mother. In the book, her description was, quote, Miss Murray's flaming red hair, creamy skin, and violet eyes with long dark lashes, unquote. In the movie, Kate Murray does not have flaming red hair. In the book, Miss Murray had a degree in biology and bacteriology and worked on experiments in the home laboratory. In the movie, I think she was a physicist like Alex Murphy, and the two worked together on unlocking the Tesseract solution. Alex Murphy? In the book, Meg and Charles Wallace's father was a well-respected scientist who worked with other scientists on developing the Tesseract transport. He was working on a secret program for the government and ended up on Camazotz. In the movie, though, his hypothesis on Tesserine was not taken seriously by the scientific community and they laughed at his lecture. He traveled to different planets before ending up on Camazotz. In the book, he was clean-shaven until Meg found him on Camazotz, and he had grown a beard due to the time he had spent in prison. But in the movie, they had him with a beard from the beginning. Okay, Principal Jenkins. This character was not in the book for too long, so there's not much to say. The character in the movie was fine. He was a principal at the school, and he spoke with Meg, just like the book. Some of the biggest changes in characters were the three intergalactic travelers, Miss Watsit, Miss Who, and Miss Witch. Starting off with Miss Watsit. In the book, she is described as, quote, the age or sex was impossible to tell, for it was completely bundled up in clothes. Several scarves of assorted colors were tied about the head, and a man's felt hat perched atop. A shocking pink stole was knotted about a rough overcoat, and black rubber boots covered the feet. Under all this, a sparse quantity of grayish hair was tied in a small but tidy knot on the top of her head. Her eyes were bright, her nose a round soft blob, her mouth puckered like an autumn apple. Indeed. Needless to say, the movie writers took some creative liberties with this character. In the movie, Miss Watsit appears at the house of the characters dressed up in an outfit made from sheets. In the book, she did steal a bunch of sheets, but that was done in order to craft makeshift ghosts to keep people away from the house that she and her friends were staying in. Why this sheet dress thing? Next, I want to talk about when Miss Watsit changes her form on the planet Uriel. Now, different people interpret the written word differently, which is why there are various versions of the creature that Miss Watsit changes into. In the movie, Miss Watsit changes form into some giant flat flying cabbage with a pretty face. That is not even close to the description in the book, which is, quote, she was a marble white body with powerful flanks, something like a horse, but at the same time completely unlike a horse. For from the magnificently modeled back sprang a nobly formed torso, arms, and a head resembling a man's, but a man with a perfection of dignity and virtue. From the shoulders, slowly a pair of wings unfolded, wings made of rainbows, of light upon water, of poetry. Unquote. Creative licensing indeed. Next up, we have the character Miss Who, the second supernatural character that was introduced to the story. The book stated that Miss Who was a plump little woman that wore enormous spectacles. Well, they got the quoting right. Miss Who liked to state quotes, followed by the name of the person being quoted and where they were from. Just a side note, when the characters encountered Miss Who in the house, she was sewing, but she was sewing sheets, the previously mentioned sheets. She was making the sheets into fake ghosts to keep people away, to make them think the house was haunted. In the movie, Miss Who appears to just be sewing a quilt. Miss Witch. Probably the biggest change out of all the characters. In the book, Miss Witch was unable to fully materialize and was described as a shimmer. This also resulted in her speech being drawn out. But when she came close to fully materializing, the book stated, quote, "It became vaguely darker and more solid, and then there appeared a figure in a black robe and a black peaked hat, beady eyes, a beaked nose, and long gray hair. One bony claw clutched a broomstick." What the heck is this character in the movie? In the book, Miss Witch was described as a Halloween-style generic witch, and was never a giant. On top of that, the three supernatural characters did not change their outfits after every tessering trip, which they do in the movie. Okay, the happy medium. This character not only got much more story time in the movie, but their look was overhauled as well. As described in the book, quote, "She wore a turban of beautiful pale mauve silk, and a long flowing purple satin gown. In her hands was a crystal ball into which she was gazing raptly," unquote. I don't see a crystal ball. In fact, in the book, the characters looked into the crystal ball to see visions of Earth and the darkness, but in the movie, they just sort of see visions in their head, I guess? Who's next? Okay, the man with red eyes. This one's a little tricky, mainly because the way the movie handled the plot around the time the character was introduced. In the book, after the characters got to Camazotz, they made their way through a city and into a huge building called the Central Intelligence Building. Deep inside the building, they encountered a man in a chair on a platform. They realized that the man was just a decoy for some greater power that was speaking through him. He speaks with the character for like 17 pages, which is about 8% of the book. They talked about many subjects and he tried to mind control them, but they managed to resist his attempts. Eventually, Charles Wallace gives in and gets controlled. In the movie, they meet the man with red eyes on some sort of illusionary beach. They talk for a bit, but the subject matter is pretty light. In the book, when the man with the red eyes offered them food, he informs them that it is synthetic, and although it is very nutritious, it is rather bland. It tastes like sand. However, with a bit of mind conditioning, he can make it so it tastes delicious. In the movie, the food was sand with an illusion that it was a sandwich. What a weird change. In the movie was a teenage girl named Veronica Kiley. She was Meg's neighbor, and apparently her and her friends used to pick on Meg while at school. Well, Veronica's not in the book at all. And finally, the villain of Camazotz, the It. To be honest, when I first saw the letters IT in the book, I kept thinking of information technology. I kept thinking of the IT department. It took a while before my mind would read it as the word It. In the book, the big baddie of the story, the It, was described as, quote, "an oversized brain, just enough larger than normal to be completely revolting and terrifying. A living brain. A brain that pulsed and quivered, that seized and commanded," unquote. And it lived in a small domed building. In the movie, the It is so humongous that the final confrontation takes place inside it. Meg and Charles Wallace are inside some incredibly huge cavern, writhing with tentacles and neurons. So lastly, let's talk about missing characters. Fortunately, there aren't that many of them. To start off with, missing are Dennis and Sandy. In the book, Meg had two twin brothers, which were absent in the movie. I actually understand this omission though, because these two characters were pretty minor, had nothing to do with the plot, and leaving them out didn't change anything. However, this did make me wonder, if this movie did well at the box office, was Walt Disney Pictures planning on making films out of the other books in the series? Because Dennis and Sandy are the main characters in the fourth book, Many Waters. I guess we'll never know. Lastly is the character Ant Beast. In the book, the characters come to an alien planet inhabited by intelligent beings that had 4 arms and tentacles for fingers and ears. One of these beings tended to Meg while she was recovering, and Meg called her Aunt Beast. Now, Aunt Beast is mentioned in the movie when the happy medium is showing Meg the places that Father teleported to, but I don't get this. What is the point of even referencing Aunt Beast at all? Because the character's not in the movie. Anyone not familiar with the story from the book would not know the character's missing. And why is the creature called Aunt Beast? In the book, the creature had some difficulty communicating certain things to Meg. So they settled on the title of Aunt Beast for her because that phrase was the best description. What is the point of just making a casual reference? In conclusion, I would say that the movie did a decent job of portraying the main events and story elements from the book for the first 2 acts. The movie even expanded on some of the minor story elements. The 3rd act, however, was way too different that it could almost have been from a different book altogether. Meg goes from just saving her brother at the end of the book story to helping save the whole universe in the movie. There's also a lot of creative licensing on how a lot of the characters looked. Overall, I found the movie to be a decent adventure movie, but was still lacking as an adaptation from the book. If you liked this video, click on like and possibly subscribe to the channel, as that will motivate me to make more videos like this. If you did not like this video, I thank you for watching until this point. Take care, everyone.